have no intro. Oh. Hello. I'm back. There's a lot of noise right now because I have my window open. My room becomes a hot box otherwise. But if I don't have my window open, I begin to sweat, and then I get agitated, and then I maybe begin to use a colorful vocabulary. Just bear with me. We'll make it through. Welcome back. I am here to tell you some more about my time at the Allender Center. This particular weekend that I'm talking about was probably the most difficult to walk into. The third weekend centered around sexuality, which has always been a really difficult subject for me, partially because growing up I did not know about my body. I didn't know what it was for. I didn't know how to use it. I don't have a lot of memories of education about my body outside of health class, which was just traumatic in itself. Leading up to it, reading all of those books about sexual abuse and sexual desire and just everything sexual, I started to have a lot of desire just sort of bubble up. Right before that weekend, there was one night that I just was burning with desire about being in a relationship, and particularly this person that I had broken up with and now was just away from. I was out on my deck at 4 a.m. because I just couldn't sleep. I was just like wide awake, like wired with desire. And I sort of had a very vocal conversation. Well, it was more like I was yelling at God. I was really upset that I felt like He had put me in this place to be single and to just deal with the longing that comes with singleness. And I had to just sit with that, and I was just really frustrated. I'm like, why is it so wrong that I want to be with this person? And the response that I got back was, I never said that it was wrong. So I'm not sure, if you thought that was me, it wasn't. I ended up calling that guy right afterwards at 4 a.m. Woke him up and told him that I was still in love with him and that I still desired to be with him at some point. Went well. Caught him off guard, definitely, because I hadn't really talked to him in 6 months. And he took it like a champ, even though I woke him up from sleeping. Kind of freed me up to enter into the weekend with somewhat of an open hand of whatever it is that I am feeling, maybe it is okay. Maybe God is actually going to bless that. The story that I brought to the weekend was one of the most traumatic stories I think I've ever had as a child, that no one's known about, because I've just kind of always kept it to myself, especially because it's around my sexuality and around my body, and that was never really a conversation I would have with anyone in my family. When I told this story, it was really hard. I was just kicking and screaming in my head the whole way there. Walking into telling that story, I felt like I needed to be fixed, or I needed to be mended in some way. And my group didn't want any of that. They just wanted to sit with me while my body recovered on its own. What I was able to conclude from that was that the whole idea of this monster that was just following me around through this whole program, in a way it protected me from what was already happening around me, which was a lack of acknowledgement and care for my body. It also took some of the focus away from what was actually going on around me. The hard part was beginning to sit with how to care for my body image and the desire that would come soon after, relationally, sexually, vocationally. It was a huge hurdle to try and sit with where I was, both in my desire, in my heart, and then also where my body was. and begin to actually bless and take care of my body, which is like not something that I've ever done. I think I've had moments of it, like doing yoga or meditation, but that quickly was distracted with something else. That's still like a question for me, like what am I supposed to do with my sexuality, because it feels like it doesn't really belong in most of my worlds. I'm starting to realize that even the word sexuality like scares most people. So those conversations are not really welcome in most places besides counseling, which is honestly quite frightening and really just makes me sad, because that should be one of the first conversations that we have and that we're like talked about with. That weekend was one of the most healing weekends, I think, because I was able to come out and tell multiple women about my body and the shame around my body. They in turn blessed it and blessed my body's natural processes and reactions. It just like got me to trust women again in the realm of talking about anything sexual and talking about my body, because that hasn't ever felt like a safe topic. That felt like a turning point for me. Not to say that I still don't have shame about my body, because there's still like lots and lots of shame that like comes up at times where I'm just like, what the heck, I thought I dealt with you. But it feels like I have tools and how to engage that shame well when it comes up. I'm most definitely not like a pro at this. If you have more questions about that or sexuality, if you're a guy, I would hope that you would be open to talking about that with another man. But if you're a female and you have questions about that, I'm open to talking about that with you. So yeah, hit me up. After the program ended, Jana told me about something that she was dreaming about, and it's like a night once a month or maybe twice a month, or I don't really know when we do it, but we're just kind of dreaming about what it would be like to have a night of care and healing for women's sexuality and their bodies. Next weekend, I will conclude this whole Allender shenanigan business. So yeah, stay tuned for the last Allender update, and I will see you soon. So, take care.